What is up, fam? This is Jake Goodman and Zachary Daranowski coming at you for the first time on YouTube, and we don't really know what we're doing.
This is unfiltered, uncut, and we are here to chat with you guys today about how we are able to grow a following on Instagram and TikTok of over 2 million people. But we're here more so to chat with you guys about how you can do the same or how you can captivate your audience. So without further ado, Jake, let's go.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is kind of share with you guys about a minute synopsis of my story and how I was able to grow this following. I'm going to pass it off to Zach. He'll do the same, and then we'll just get into it in a real organic way. So a year ago today, I'm filming this on January 17th, 2021. A year ago today, I had no social media, was not on Instagram. I had a personal Instagram with a couple hundred followers, never heard of TikTok, and had no aspirations to be on social media. My story is that I'm a medical student that was denied by 25 medical schools, and it took me nearly 2 years to get in. And when I was getting my master's of business administration, my MBA, during medical school, I was volunteering at the pre-med office at my college, University of Georgia, and giving back all of the knowledge that I wish that I would have known when I was a pre-med. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to start a social media account. I'm going to call it Destination Med School. And I'm going to provide all the advice, the insight, and the lessons that I learned along my journey to pre-meds across the US and across the world. It started picking up traction. I pivoted, was able to bring in a mental health advocacy component. Fast forward to today, my TikTok is around 600,000, Instagram's 85K plus. We have a podcast. I met Zach along this journey. We have a podcast. We have a clothing company, which we'll talk about. And yeah, now I'm here.
It's been a crazy year for you, Jake. So my story is kind of similar to Jake in the sense of wanting to create something that wasn't there for me and hoping to empower others. So my story is I'm a former college dropout. So I failed out of college and then I ended up fast forwarding, getting into medical school. And throughout that process, I came up with this equation: vulnerability equals relatability equals empowerment. And Jake's heard that thousands of times now. So that applied at the time when I spoke about academics, of showing my 0.59 GPA transcripts, the 9Fs on my transcripts, my parents kicking me out, just like sharing my raw story was the way I was able to relate and then hopefully empower others. So I started social media about 2 years ago now. I started in January of 2018, and that was before I knew Jake. And on Instagram, my first name was White Coat Vision. The name's been adjusted, and now we're at MD Motivator, so like it's gone better. So I started Instagram then. I started TikTok in April of 2020, this past year, so about 8-9 months ago. And I only started TikTok because Jake said, Zach, you should jump on TikTok. Zach, you should jump on TikTok. And at that time, he was killing TikTok already. So I was like, what's the worst thing that can happen? So I put out some videos. It was more pre-medical based at the time. And then I was leaning towards maybe speaking more about mental health because of 2020 and COVID and social isolation and how I felt in the past. But I used the same formula: vulnerability equals relatability equals empowerment. Um, and then that just snowballed my account. So as of today, I think I'm at 1.1 million on TikTok and almost 200,000 on Instagram. So I've been very fortunate to grow the platform, but at the whole time, it's always been vulnerability equals relatability equals empowerment.
Mhm.
And Jake and I now have the podcast called the YMMP. So You Matter Most podcast. We've had Dr. Julie Smith. We're going to have, we had Victoria Garrick. We have a few other really big creators that we can share. But one thing we've noticed, Jake and I, with these big influencers, with these big presences online, they're all speaking from the story of vulnerability and authenticity to resonate with their audience. It's not them flexing their greatness. And I think that's a really important thing that we can chat about right now, about what it means to be real on IG Reel or on TikTok. So let's chat about that.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember when I was contemplating whether I was going to get on social media. I was like, what's out there? I'm gonna go on Instagram and search and see what other pre-med or medical people are doing, what they're doing, and why they're doing it and how they're doing it. And to be honest, I was very frustrated with what I saw. I saw a lot of perfection. I saw a lot of flexing, grades flexing or school flexing, as in you went to blank school. And I didn't see any vulnerability. Maybe I didn't see Zach at that time. I don't think I really ran into Zach till about April of 2020. But when I'm scoping the IG world, and in December of 2019, before I started, I'm just seeing so much perfection, and that's not real. It's fake. No one succeeds without failing. And I realized, you know what? If there's not people doing it, I'm going to do it. And my first ever video that went, quote, viral, which at that time was not even close to what I call viral today, was, my name is Jake Goodman. I'm a fourth year medical student and an MBA student at the time. And I failed many times before I got here. I was denied by 25 medical schools. I had to take the MCAT twice. I even failed my driver's test twice before I got to where I'm at today. And these failures made me who I am today. So I think what Zach and I both did from day one was say that, look, this is our story. We've failed and we're here. And if you have also failed, come join us, because you're human and you're vulnerable, and let's build this platform together and mentor and educate and teach along the way. And that's what Zach and I have never strayed from.
And I think that's a really important facet you brought up: mentor, educate, and teach. And I think the most important thing from social media, the benefit you can get from being on social media, isn't the following, isn't the likes, isn't the PR, isn't money you can make from doing ads. It's the priceless networking with this mentor-mentee continuum, right? So you're giving back, but you're also learning from people like Dr. Tommy Martin, Dr. Richard Brown, people who are authentic and real in their own right. And it's incredible. It's a priceless entity that if you decide to be a part of, it's not just growing. Like, I used to like teach the MCAT or teach students how to do well, but it was life skills, right? Networking skills, priceless. Like, there's so much benefit from that. And I want to speak about now, moving forward, about, instead of networking, more so about the waves of social media and the rise of Instagram Reels. Because if we want to just talk social media, let's talk about how to grow. Let's be real here for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Chat with your current analytics and what's been going on with you.
For sure. So, y'all, when I first started, I was gaining probably 8 to 10 followers a day. That's how I started on Instagram. And I calculated that if I continued that trend, I would probably get, there's 365 days in a year. You lose followers too, which is part of it, and I'd probably get about 3,000 followers by the end of the year if I was on the same trajectory and was consistent. And now on Instagram, I'm 85,000, 87,000 or something even higher. So, I 30x'd my growth. And here's how I did it. First off, I think it's important that everyone understands, and Zach and I talk about this all the time, social media growth is not linear. It's exponential. And it's sometimes exponential in the right direction and sometimes exponential in the wrong direction. I checked my analytics today because I knew we were going to have this chat. I lost 400 followers overnight. I lost 400 followers. That you can't get caught up in the ups and downs, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is that over the span of 6 months, are you moving in the right direction? And are you moving at the rate that you can move in? It's very easy to get caught up in the numbers. So understanding that social media growth is not linear. It was 10 followers in a day, but about a week ago, I got 6,000 followers in a single day. And we'll definitely talk about how that's possible. So early on, I think one of the most important things is consistency, remaining consistent, posting. You don't have to post every day, by no means. I don't post every day, but I think, 3 to 7 times a week, really just maintaining that consistency is really important. And what's even more important than consistency is quality of your content. And that's something that is learned. If you go back to my TikTok and you scroll all the way down to the first video, it sucks. It's not good. It is not good at all. It's nothing that would ever go viral. It's just me talking about something. And if you scroll all the way up to my most recent stuff, it's good. And I do that because I can admit that it's good because I practice, I learned, I watch what other people do, and I create quality content that's consistent.
And I think that goes hand in hand, consistency and quality. The quality only rises when you're consistent in putting out hundreds of pieces of content, right? So obviously it's important from a following perspective to be putting out consistent content so people know you're out there. But I think we've been using the F word too much. And I strongly stay away from that word. I don't use the word following. I use community or family or team or YMM fam or whatever it is, because you're nothing without the people that are with you. So a lot of people, I notice this a lot, they're upset with their numbers, or they're just not focused on what's happening. So if someone reshares your story, or they comment on something, or they DM you, as opposed to thinking, oh, I should be so thankful and grateful, it's why is there not more people doing this? It's about being appreciative and thankful for what you have, and growing this ride or die community alongside you for whatever niche that you're trying to grow in. So I think that's super important. And I think that's something that Jake and I have really focused on with MHM, the mental health movement, and the You Matter Most podcast, whether it's with the ambassadorships, the scholarships, the current campaigns that we're currently working with Jazz and Genevieve, along with the Voices of Hope. And I think it's about finding a multitude of ways to really deepening your purpose with the community you have as of now. And then obviously learning from your mistakes to keep growing. But that growing is like a byproduct of you doing the right things consistently with high quality. I think that's really important to say.
Right. And your community is huge. If you want to learn about community, just follow Zach, MD Motivator, and watch what he does. He's the best community builder I've ever met on social. Where I'm going to throw another C word in here, which is connections, contacts, connections with other people in your niche. So, and I'm going to touch on niche. Niche is something I think is actually over discussed and overemphasized. When I first started on social, I was watching some YouTube videos of Gary Vee and some other guys, and I have nothing bad to say about Gary Vee, but I think a lot of people focus on finding your niche early on. You know, find your niche. What's your niche? Are you pre-med niche? Are you in the law niche? Are you in motivation niche? Maybe early on that's important, is establishing your niche. But if you remain in one niche, you will never grow to your full potential because you'll never be able to access the other niches. So my niche was pre-med. I was a medical student promoting or teaching pre-med principles on how to get into medical school. That niche can only get me so far. My goal on social media is not to just inspire future doctors, it's to advocate for mental health. If you go to my page on Instagram, you will see the same quote that has never changed since I started my account. I inspire future doctors and advocate for mental health. That's what I do. So if it's in the mental health space, the mental health space touches so many different things, from motivation to inspiration to advocacy to awareness, to the future doctor space, which touches pre-med, med students, future healthcare professionals. I'm covering all my bases there. And if you're just the motivation guy or just the mental health guy, you're not reaching your full capacity. And just to add one last thing on there, as far as connections go, let's say you start your account. Research, I literally have an Excel doc. I got to show you this at some point, Zach, because I've never even told you this before, but I have an Excel doc that I created back in December of 2019 when I was doing my research on who else was out there. And I put all the people that I wanted to be like or wanted to connect with on my journey. And I put all their usernames on there and what they were doing in the space. And to this day, I've collaborated with every single one of them. And even people I had on the side of the Excel list, which was like dream collabs. We just did a You Matter Most podcast with Dr. Julie Smith, like, 2+ million on TikTok. So yeah, she was on there. Yeah, I'll show you after, Zach. So guys, connections is key. Write them down, who you want to connect with, and then collaborate with them all the time. That's another C word: collaboration, connections, and community.
Yeah, because collaborations are going to give you the social proof too, right? In terms of growing your community, in terms of not stealing, borrowing a community from another, so you can continue on in that growth. But I think a really important thing. So I've talked about community, we talked about networking. Let's chat about real estate. So if you're moving to this island, say, let's say 100 years ago, this beautiful island, you can get all the real estate in the world at pennies to a nickel. I don't even know the saying.
I don't know it either.
You can get it for cheap. You can get it for really cheap. But if you fast forward 100 years later, and now it's all built up, and there's houses, and there's villas, and there's gyms, and there's beautiful restaurants and cafes, you're not going to be able to afford it. And if so, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. And the same goes with social media, whether it's hopping on Instagram earlier, RIP, because that's pretty much over. But TikTok right now, Clubhouse is something that's happening right now. But if we want to rewind, Instagram Reels is happening right now because that is essentially Instagram's way of competing with TikTok. And it's one of the only ways essentially you can organically grow. And Jake's been a living proof of that, growing almost 70,000 on Instagram in the last couple months, just solely off his performance on Reels. And I think so utilizing new social media platforms or new social media features because they want to force that into their feed because now it's going to become Jake's go-to or a big social media influencer's go-to as a future post. They're going to be incentivized to post because they're going to see that's going to grow the following. So getting on it early. There was one more important thing I wanted to say, but I'll let you jump in before I
Sure.
can think of what it was.
Yeah. I mean, Zach nailed it. And I don't want y'all to think that it's too late to get on these platforms, even YouTube, which y'all, I mean, we're living proof of this right now. We're making our first YouTube video and YouTube is
2021.
We're way past the opportunity for YouTube. What we still believe that this video is going to perform well because we're making good content. At the end of the day, I know this gets said all the time, but content is king. If you make good content, typically it will perform well and people will see it. Not all the time. I've spent 3 hours on a video that's gotten less views than one I spent 15 seconds on. And there's a little bit of luck that goes in to this whole equation. But I want to touch on the real estate component. So I came into Instagram late. I started on Instagram in 2020. The Instagram opportunity was gone. I should not have 87,000 followers on Instagram in 1 year. That's very difficult to obtain. I didn't spend a nickel to get it. All I did was put in the hard work and adapt with the times. Right now, Reels and TikTok, short form content, high impact content is in. If you are sleeping on that content or waiting for the TikTok Reels world to pass by, you are going to get passed by and watch as everybody else grows as you're still posting static feed posts and wondering why you're not growing. I see it all the time. So something that I did, and that is a huge reason why I've been able to be successful on here, is I've tapped into the new features where organic reach is actually happening, and that's TikTok and that's Reels. And then the last thing I want to say before Zach chimes in here is that sometimes I think about social media in the form of sort of like a lottery. Okay, to win the lottery, you have to play the lottery, and I'm gonna actually change this. Instead of a lottery, let's call this poker. In social media, in poker, let's say that you can actually choose your hand. Texas Hold'em, you can actually choose your hand. So, and by choosing your hand, I mean make your own content. So you can actually get a pair of aces to start off Texas Hold'em. If you create an amazing video, it's like, yo, this could go big. You're starting the game of Texas Hold'em with a pair of aces. The guy next to you might have a 2 and a 7 because he's just putting out some random piece of content and seeing if it's going to win Texas Hold'em. But I'm coming in here with a pair of aces because I spent a lot of time on this video and I edited it and it's got good music and it's trending and the lighting is good and everything is right about it. And they lay down the first couple cards and it's an ace and a 3 and a 5. And now I have 3 aces and I know I'm going to win this lottery. And that video, I win the lottery. That video gets 500,000 views on Reels. I get 2,000 followers in a day. The guy next to me put out his piece of content. He loses. He gets 1,000 views or 200 views, and is not able to win the algorithm or win the game. And in order to win, you have to play. So you have to continually put out content. I hope this example made sense. It made sense in my brain.
A lot of sense. No, it makes a lot of sense because the other guy with the 2 and the 7 could win, but his chances are infinitesimally smaller than yours, who comes prepared to play the game. But you have to play the game. So